Hello and welcome back to another Magic the Gathering EDH deck tech idea. Today we are taking a look at Zimone, Mystery Unraveler. She's a 4-mana 3/3 with a powerful landfall mechanic, because whenever a land you control enters, manifest Dread if this is the first time this ability has resolved this turn. Otherwise, you may turn a permanent you control face up. Let's quickly clarify that manifesting Dread means that you look at the top 2 cards of your library and you put one on the battlefield face down as a 2/2 creature and the other card in your graveyard. You can turn the card face up anytime for its mana costs if it's a creature card. We don't necessarily want to do that because with our second land drop we can just turn a permanent face up, but due to the fact that we ram really heavily in this deck we can also resort to basic flipping up, but as I have said we don't necessarily want to do that. Furthermore, I want to mention that the Manifest Dread creature isn't a token creature, which is pretty often overlooked by players. But let's get back to the deck. Let's talk about how we want to approach the game. First of all, we have green colors we want to ram really heavily. So we play cards like Skyshroud Claim, a 4-mana sorcery, search a library for up to 2 forest cards, put them onto the battlefield and then shuffle. If you can accelerate in the early game, this is a great top-end ram spell that will bring you even more ahead. Or if you have Zimone on the battlefield, you can already get 2 landfall triggers from her. We play Llanowar Scout, a 2-mana 1/3, and you can tap it, so you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. It is worth mentioning that the land comes in untapped, and this can also trigger Zimone for the second time in a turn aside from your normal land drop, so you'll be able to flip another permanent face up. This deck can also be played in a very reactive way, so we play Growth Spiral, a 2-mana instant, draw a card and you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. This land also comes into play untapped, so you can use an interaction spell afterwards, and you can also combine this card with a fetch land of yours to also get 2 landfall triggers in another player's turn. We play Hedge Shredder, a 4-mana 5/5 artifact vehicle, and when it attacks you may mill 2 cards. Furthermore, whenever one or more land cards are put into your graveyard from your library, put them onto the battlefield tapped. This is a powerful creature that is really helpful in this deck, because with Zimone's landfall trigger where you have to manifest Dread, you can feel free to throw one of the land cards into your graveyard and then immediately get it onto the battlefield with Hedge Shredder, and by that getting your second landfall trigger. Due to the fact that we play a bunch of fetch lands that bring basic lands into play tapped, we play Spelunking, a 3-mana enchantment, and when it enters the battlefield, draw a card. Then you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield, and if you put a cave onto the battlefield this way, you gain 4 life, and furthermore, lands you control enter the battlefield untapped. This card turns your Evolving Wilds into a Windswept Heath or a Misty Rainforest, simply because the land comes into play untapped, and due to us being in 2 colors, we are totally fine with looking for forests and islands. We also play Satura Tribe Scout, a 1-mana 1/1, and you can tap it, so you may put a land card from your hand into play. And now let's talk a little bit about our land base, because it is relevant to make this deck work, so we play Fabled Passage. You can tap it and sacrifice it, and search a library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Then, if you control 4 or more lands, untap that land. We play Evolving Wilds, a land that you can tap and sacrifice, so you search a library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped and then shuffle. We also play Escape Tunnel. You can tap it and sacrifice it and search a library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped and then shuffle. It also allows you to sacrifice it, so target creature with power 2 or less can't be blocked this turn. This might be relevant if you attack with your 2/2 manifest token, and then also have another fetch land available before your creature connects, so you can flip up a really powerful creature. We play Broker's Hideout, a land that when it enters the battlefield you sacrifice it. When you do, search a library for a basic forest, plains or island card, put it onto the battlefield tapped and then shuffle, and you gain 1 life. Just as Cabaretti Courtyard, but it looks for mountains, forests or plains, and also Maestro's Theater that looks for a swamp, a mountain or an island. All of these lands will work as 2 land drops per turn, so you can always get Zimone's 2 landfall triggers that you actually are looking for. And now let's talk about bomb creatures that we want to flip up. For example, Hullbreaker Horror, a 7-mana 7/8 with flash, and this spell can't be countered, and whenever you cast a spell, choose up to 1. Return target spell you don't control to its owner's hand, or return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. We also play Koma, World Eater, a 7-mana 8/12, and this spell can't be countered, it has Trample and Ward 4. Whenever whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you also create 4 free blue creature tokens named Coma's Coil. You wanna flip Omniscience, a 10 mana enchantment, and you may cast spells from your hand without paying their mana costs. This is a really powerful card as it will end in you having some of your bombs in hand, and with Omniscience you can just cast them for free. We play Vorinclex, Voice of Hunger, an 8 mana 7/6 with Trample, and whenever you tap a land for mana, add 1 mana to your mana pool of any type that land produced, and whenever an opponent taps a land for mana, that land doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. We also play a different version of Coma, Cosmos Serpent, a 7 mana 6/6, and this spell can't be countered. Furthermore, at the beginning of each upkeep, create a free blue serpent creature token named Coma's Coil. You can also sacrifice another serpent at instant speed, so you can choose one, either tap target permanent and its activated abilities can't be activated this turn, or Cosmos Serpent gains indestructible until end of turn. Another great stacks piece is Jin-Gitaxias Progress Tyrant, a 7 mana 5/5, and whenever you cast an artifact, instant or sorcery spell, copy that spell and you may choose new targets for the copy. This ability triggers only once each turn. Furthermore, whenever an opponent casts an artifact, instant or sorcery spell, counter that spell, this ability triggers only once each turn. You want to win more? You get it. You play Dark Depths, a legendary snow land, and it enters the battlefield with 10 ice counters on it. For free mana, you remove an ice counter from Dark Depths. It also has another triggered ability, so when Dark Depths has no ice counters on it, sacrifice it. If you do, create Merit Lage, a legendary 20/20 black avatar creature token with flying and indestructible. This is one of the lands that you want to manifest as a 2/2 creature and then at some point turn around, simply because flipping a manifest dread token doesn't count as entering the battlefield, so Dark Depths will see that it doesn't have ice counters on it and then immediately transform into the black avatar. Due to us playing a bunch of lands, we play Field of the Dead, a land that enters the battlefield tapped and you can add 1 colorless mana with it. But we are looking forward for its triggered ability, because whenever Field of the Dead or another land enters the battlefield under your control, if you control 7 or more lands with different names, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. In the end, we want to win with a powerful army of creatures with also a few anthem effects, so adding a few zombies to the board is definitely helpful to win the game. Last but not least, we play Miri's Guile, a 1 mana green enchantment, and during your upkeep you may look at the top 3 cards of your library and put them back in any order. This Sensei's Divining Top effect in your upkeep will allow you to stack your top how you need it, so you can arrange it that you draw a land for turn, which you will then play and then manifest the cards that you actually want to manifest. Alright guys, these were a few cards that I will play in Zimone, Mystery Unraveler. Let me know which cards you would add to the deck, which legendary creature I shall feature next. Make sure to check out my full deck list in the notes below, and then I would say see you in the next one. Goodbye guys.